Everybody, welcome to the Jackson Howell Show. On this episode, we talked with Blake Edwards, a local citizen out of Pierce County. This interview took place on January 7th. Was hoping to have the John Tyndall interview and the Blake Edwards interview closer together, but we got heavily involved with the holidays and everything, and I wanted to release them both at the same time. So anyway, with Blake, we have a little bit of a intro to him, a little bit of his background, and we talk about faith and family. We talk about growth in Waycross and the Tri-County area, and we talk about the bypass, the perimeter road, whether it's necessary to facilitate growth. We talk about the pros and cons of it, and then we talk about community involvement and the importance and significance of that. And we talk about, again, communication and helping the community move forward. So hope you enjoy the interview. Hope you share it with others, and hope you provide your own insights and commentary in the comments below. Y'all enjoy the interview. All right, welcome everybody to this episode here. I'm Jackson, and we have a local recording here. Got a guest with us today, Mr. Blake Edwards. How you doing?
Good. Glad I could be here. Thank you for inviting me, and excited to get this started.
Absolutely. Well, we'll start out by just letting everybody that may be out there that don't know who you are, give us a little background, maybe your upbringing, where you're from,
Sure,
and into maybe what you're doing now for a career and so forth.
Okay. Name is Blake Edwards. I have lived in the area, lived in Pierce County, Blackshear, really since I was in middle school. My dad was a teacher, former band director at Pierce County High School. So grew up, went to school, high school and all in Pierce County, and have really been in the area ever since. Was born in Jacksonville, was there for a few years, then family moved to Vermont, spent a few years in Vermont, learned how to ski, and so that's something that's a huge passion of mine. I love skiing still to this day from those few years that we spent in Vermont, and then come back down to the South and have been here ever since. So love South Georgia. Pierce County is my home. I have no intentions of ever leaving this area. I'm here, work here locally. I work in Jessup, also a worship pastor at Sweetwater Baptist Church here in Waycross, and own a business, S3 Design Co. Basically, most of my business is doing real estate photography. That's kind of the big part of my business. And so real estate agents can hire me to come in. I do aerial photography with a drone, interior pictures. I do 3D virtual tours, can do similar things like you do as far as recording. If agents want to do walkthrough videos, I've worked with businesses in the area doing commercials for them, doing promos, worked with nonprofit companies doing interviews kind of like this, right. All that kind of stuff. I've last year was my son's senior year in high school, and I live streamed all of our soccer matches. He was a goalkeeper, and so I live streamed all the soccer matches and had the equipment and cameras, and kind of did commentary. I was live streaming and doing commentary at the same time, so that kind of got my feet wet a little bit in doing some of this and doing some of the live stream stuff. So I've just always really been good with computers and technology.
Okay.
I remember in Vermont, I was probably in third grade maybe or something like that, and mid-90s, and parents bought a computer, a home computer, which back then even was not a lot of people had it, and learned how to do everything back then was DOS. Right. So it's just kind of what NASA still uses. It's all command codes, and you had to know the codes to be able to get to the software that you wanted to run. And so, that I think that kind of started some of my love for technology and computers, and it's kind of stuck with me ever since. So stuff like this and right. Computers and cameras is just really right up my alley.
Well, you're a step ahead of a lot of people, and there's a lot of people. We've come so far technologically, mm-hmm. but again, there's so many people as well that don't use it and don't have a clue about it.
Trust me, I know. I mean, sometimes I'm talking with local business owners, and even something as simple as coming up and doing just a small home network for their business, so that their printers and copiers right. and scanners and all communicate, and they just have no idea. And for me, it takes 10 minutes. Right. As long as you've got the equipment, I can make it talk to each other. But for some people, that's just completely beyond what they're capable of, and that's that's fine.
It changes so fast.
And
Just
it does.
It just keeps updating,
Yeah.
and the whole AI thing, getting into that.
I'm starting to understand that more and more. It's still kind of like the .com era where there was like just the explosion of websites and businesses, and
Right.
then it might be a great business for 6 months, might be a great AI tool for 6 months, and then they sell out to this company. So it's a big competition right now of all the different AIs and which ones are going to really stick. Obviously, people kind of know like OpenAI and ChatGPT and things like that, but now Google wants to have their own, Facebook wants to have their own. So it's a competition right now for who's going to be the top dog when it comes to this AI. But it is really neat because there's so many little niche things that are also like you can have just this one app that helps you in your business and what you're doing and what you need, and that AI works perfect for you. And so that's what's really cool. As a small business owner, if you understand how to harness AI, it's crazy what the production capability of that is to help you as a small business owner.
Absolutely. I've been, again, I'm very low on the totem pole when it comes to understanding AI, but I've been implementing that myself, and it's definitely, if you know how to use it and you can learn how to use it, there's huge advantages in that for sure.
I mean, something as simple as a few weeks ago, I know you're into health and fitness. I'm recently into it. Lost a lot of weight this last year. Really been hardcore working out, eating clean, staying away from certain ingredients, and doing a lot of that. And part of that is also supplements. And so I typed in all these different supplements that I've kind of been taking here and there, and using AI and ChatGPT. All right, which ones are good, which ones aren't? What's my order? When should I take? What should I take at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner? Something as simple as that. And I had it complete, literally almost backwards of what I thought I should be doing. And using AI, it helped me kind of get the most out of that. So just something that simple, but it's so powerful. Yeah. Instead of going to 30 different websites, boom, one question right there. It's sorts out all the data for me.
Right. So you mentioned mainly growing up in Pierce County, an area, and you said I guess your father was from here. Now, does it go back further than that? Were your grandparents here? Or
no,
were they? Okay.
Not my family. Now we had some ties to the area. When we lived in Jacksonville, and obviously I was very young. I was less than 5 years old. But I do remember we would come to Blackshear because my mom's best friend lived here, and still to this day lives here in Blackshear. So I remember traveling up here a few times, and then when we lived in Vermont, we would come down once every other year or so. We would come down, and we would always come to Blackshear. So it was neat. We kind of had that little bit of a connection. Now my wife's family has been from here for a long time in generations, and we live on a big family farm, big compound. It's a lot of family members, and again, kind of why I'm fighting, for this against this bypass so hard is because of our family land. We've got so much land right there that it's our house, my wife's sister, her brother, her parents, her grandparents. Now my oldest son lives there. My youngest son has his land picked out where when he graduates college and gets settled where he wants to be. Nieces, nephews, my granddaughter that just turned a year old. So, I mean, we're all right there, and we're all a very close-knit family, and we don't want to break that up, and we don't want a highway running right through, what we have worked hard for, 4 generations really, to, be able to build and start.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. Hey, I'm with you on having a good, strong, close-knit family.
Right.
I've got a buddy of mine. He'll often kind of joke around about how we look for any opportunity to have a family reunion, whether it's getting together for obviously the holiday season, but whether it's a football game, Sunday dinners or whatever it is, having a strong family and a close-knit family is a huge blessing, and it sounds like you've got that.
The first 4 weeks of the football season, of college football season, every Saturday, literally everybody on our road came to our house, and I would cook. I love cooking. I love smoking meat, hamburgers, brisket, and so every Saturday I was like, well, here's the menu. Here's what I'm smoking for everybody. Y'all bring some sides and come down and watch the games. And so it's a huge blessing. Christmas, we're all right there. We don't have to travel anywhere. We're all right there. Easter, the big holidays. We always have a big Memorial Day, 4th of July. We have a Shark Week party. We have a shark party. My wife kind of started several years ago. And so at the conclusion of Shark Week, my in-laws have a pool, and so we'll go out there at night and we'll have a shark-themed pool party. And this year we got an inflatable screen and watch Jaws at night on the inflatable screen in the pool. So, it's just awesome to be able to do that with family right there.
A lot of fun times for sure.
Yeah.
So how many acres do y'all have, you said?
I can't remember. 75, 80-ish,
Okay.
somewhere right around in there.
That's good. And as far as children, how many children do you have?
I have two.
Okay.
Two adult sons now. My oldest son is 23, 24, and my youngest is 18.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Both went to college. She went to nursing school. My wife's a nurse. I was actually planning on going into the Navy. I was in a delayed entry program. I had everything ready to go. My mom ended up getting cancer, and I ended up kind of helping take care of her for right at a year, and ended up not going into the military, not going into the Navy, and was just taking some basic college classes just to kind of take up some time. And after she passed, I went ahead and I had already taken some college classes. I said, well, let me go ahead and just try to get some kind of degree or something. And was working 3 jobs. I worked FedEx early in the morning, unloading the semi trucks from Atlanta, and then loading all of the trucks. This is actually back when they were on US 1, so a long time ago.
Right.
So I worked from there from like 3:30 till like 8 o'clock in the morning, then go take some college classes some days. Other days I would be a jumper on the trucks with whatever driver needed some assistance that day. I'd jump with them. And then I worked at a local gym, Energy Fitness. I would close the gym, and I'd be done at like 10, get home 10:30, get a couple hours of sleep, and up at 3:30 the next morning. Did that for like 4 years, and just cramming as many college classes as I could. Graduated college in less than 4 years, and was able to, again, I was just very blessed. God really blessed our family, and in a lot of circumstances and situations that we found ourselves in early on, and was able to get a great job, and law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and have been doing that for a long time, and it's just a blessing. Right. Great retirement, great benefits. I mean, literally almost right out of the door from college, just had an amazing opportunity that God put right in front of me, and was able to do. But yeah, we've worked very hard.
Yeah, a lot of hard work.
A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hard work. But that's kind of me. In a nutshell, is if I'm going to do something, I want to do it 100%. Right. I want to go all the way. I don't sleep a lot. I'm 100 miles an hour all the time. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, right, and do it 100%. We just turned 40, and I shared with you earlier that our big news on Monday, we were able to make our last house payment. Yeah. And so at 40 years old, we own our home and have no mortgage and have very little additional debt, so
congratulations, man. That's definitely the American dream there.
Yes.
I mean, hard work all the way through, house paid for, great property out there where you are. And just a good, healthy family and moving forward, man. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
Keeping God at the center of all of it has been what I think has allowed us to be successful, right, and give us a purpose, give us faith through those hard times, because it wasn't easy. Responsibilities, bills, things piling up, working 3 jobs, very little sleep. I mean, it was tough.
Completely agree with you. I love the scripture, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. And I completely agree with that and believe that. Doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy. Doesn't mean that everything's going to always work out.
Yeah, that was never promised to us.
That's right.
There's nothing in Scripture that promises that it's going to be easy.
100%. Yeah. Wow. Well, again, thank you for coming in. Just we'll maybe move forward a little bit, and we'll talk about this whole perimeter road, bypass road issue that's come upon us here in the Waycross community. I had Commissioner John Tyndall. Mm-hmm. I had him in here, interviewed him, and so I'm going to be releasing both of these interviews at the same time. And it's something that's not new to the area.
Right.
They've tried to institute some kind of perimeter road or bypass before in the past, and that's failed and so forth. So Maybe we'll just start. I'd like to ask this question first. So you're from the for the most part from the area, got a great piece of land and everything. Other than family and maybe that land, is there anything else that keeps you here?
No, but again, family is such a huge part of
Right.
our life.
Yeah.
To have two young men, in early 20s, 18, just got out of high school, that want to stay home, that want to be here, to have the opportunity I can literally walk out my back door and see my granddaughter's window. That keeps me here, and that's our priority. My wife and I were very intentional from a very early age, obviously, when we started our family, but from an early age, we were very intentional about family being, the number one.
Right.
Family is important, and doing things intentionally with our kids. We were poor. We didn't have a lot, but we would take vacations. If we had any extra money, we saved it for vacations, to go to Disney, to go to Pigeon Forge, little things like that for some people. But for us, when you're literally paycheck to paycheck, those things were huge. And we think, looking back now, where we are now, and the relationship we have with our kids, that those memories, those things were huge and instrumental in where we are now as a family. And of course, that's why we want to stay where we're at.
Right. Okay. So your two children, 24 and 18, do they want to hang around, or or are they wanting to venture out at all?
No, they've had every opportunity. If they wanted to,
Okay.
they could go off to college or go somewhere else. But this is where they want to be, because again, we've instilled in them how important family is,
Right.
and that what we have as a family is very atypical. That's not common. For entire families to kind of be able to stick together like that,
Right.
and to have the relationship that we do. They want to be around us. They want to be home,
Right.
and so that's a huge blessing for us, obviously, as
Right.
parents.
Right. Yeah.
We get to see our came home today from work. I was on the firearms range today. I'm an instructor. I do all kinds of things at our facility, and it was a rough day. We had a lot going on today, and I'm pulling up the driveway, and my wife is holding my granddaughter, and she's waving, hi, that you can't do anything
To replace that.
to
Yeah,
replace
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That is just such a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I grew up here in the area, and ended up going to UGA, graduated from there, and then started working in the Atlanta area. Got married from a girl that was from here as well, and obviously when we got married, we were up there together. And then I was working for Allstate insurance company, but I wanted to come back home.
yeah,
But the opportunities, the job opportunities, the career opportunities, I would search and look, but there wasn't anything that I felt like that I could do with my current degree and everything, and really build upon build a career there,
Right.
and so forth. So, but thankfully, again, through blessings of God, I was able to maintain and keep that job, and work my way back down. And ended up being I'm in claims,
Right.
Insurance adjusting and everything, and so I didn't, and I've always worked out of my home. So that because I worked out of my home and being a claims adjuster and so forth, I didn't have to be tied to this area to have that kind of career. But it ended up working out, because again, I've got family here, and I wanted to get back
yeah,
to the area with family. The reason I asked that and ask you about that is I think about the Waycross, and I consider us basically really a tri-county area, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's Ware County, Pierce County, Brantley County. County seats are all close together, and all three counties are intertwined heavily.
yeah,
And so I think about my children. One's 18. I've got a 21-year-old, and then I've got a 14 and 13-year-old, and they want to be here as well. But then I think about career opportunities there are limitations, and so what are your thoughts on growth here in the area? Do you want to see it grow? And can we have some growth to give our children, grandchildren more opportunities to hang around for reasons other than family?
Sure. And that is a big push for the bypass is that we need the bypass for growth. We need, we've outgrown the what our transportation infrastructure can provide. And we need more area for businesses, commercial and industrial growth.
Right.
But I completely understand that argument. My concern is, it seems to me like we have plenty of opportunities with our local mall for commercial businesses to develop. The land between kind of where Verizon and kind of the next business, we see the sign that says, new shopping retail coming soon. There's land and opportunity there, land at the mall. There's land in the industrial park. We have plenty of land available for growth and development. It's up to our elected officials and development agencies and those types of organizations to bring those businesses in, to provide, incentives, to provide a tangible reason. We have a couple of major highways that are already coming right through our area. US 1, Highway 84, Highway 82, right? Waycross, where the ways cross. That's kind of a catchphrase for the community. And now we're going to put a bypass so that they don't come to Waycross. It seems kind of counterproductive. On the route, when you look at the route, at least on the eastern portion, which is the one that I'm most concerned about because that cuts through heavily residential areas from Highway 82 back all the way through kind of this area, Central Avenue, back into Pierce County, and then all the way from Highway 84 in Pierce County back through my area, my community, back across the Satilla River until we get back to Highway 82. That eastern portion of the bypass is nothing but residential areas. It's nothing but homes and communities that you're going to be putting a major road, a major highway through. What is going to grow and develop in that area? You're not going to grow and develop. You're going to be destroying homes and communities. People are going to leave because who wants to live on the edge of a busy highway with semi trucks 24 hours a day?
Right.
The southern portion, which would maybe be from like US 1 back kind of under the rice yard, when the rice yard ends back on 84 going towards Valdosta. Again, there might be some areas for growth and development on that side, some state land, some Rayonier land, some individually owned land. There might be some areas for growth and development. But when you look at some of the reasons and some of the arguments for the bypass, even early on, I've read through all the meeting minutes. This goes back almost 2 years. I've read through every county commissioner's meeting minutes. I have notes on all of them actually on the www.stopthebypass.info website. I've got links to all of those meeting minutes. And that was even an early note from Atlas is basically if you don't have all portions of this bypass, if you cut out 3/4 of the bypass and you just do this one section, it's not really going to be effective because there's only this percent of traffic that is looking to go west and only this percent of traffic looking to go east. If you think about it logically, if you come up US 1 from Jacksonville, and there's a fork in the road where you can take Highway 121 and go to Blackshear. If you were planning on going to Savannah, you would take 121. You wouldn't come to Waycross. You would already take Highway 121 and go to Blackshear and then turn in Blackshear to go that direction.
Right.
If you're going to come through Waycross and you're going to take Corridor Z, which is what that was built for, and then take Corridor Z and take that to the big four-way stop sign. I'm sorry, the traffic light right there where all the McDonald's and Wawa and all that is, that's what that was designed for. That's what that was built for. If you don't have the whole bypass, then you're really cutting down on some of the purpose for the bypass. But as it's laid out now, I just don't see how you're going to build a 360 loop all the way around Waycross and not destroy homes and communities. I just don't see where, and they say this isn't the final route. I get that. I understand that. That's great. We can change it. But there's not really any available land on that eastern part that doesn't cut through a community. It's just not there. The communities and the homes are already built. The communities are already established.
Right.
Whatever you do, you're going to end up disrupting that and destroying those communities.
Yeah. I knew we that's a got it there. Yeah, that's a very, very tough conversation to have. So with me personally, the proposed route, the one that was released, it comes down County Line Road.
Yeah.
Right here, and so it would impact us. My father lives in the Little Red House. It would impact his property. My brother lives on the other side of the road as well. It would impact his property. So feeling that impact would be huge. Let me ask you about this. So let's set aside Waycross, your personal land, my personal land here for a little bit, and just talk about growth in general.
Sure.
And when things grow, when communities grow, infrastructure is built, from roads to bridges to manufacturing plants and everything. And as those things grow and develop, property is torn down, and people relocate and everything. If nothing ever grew, then we wouldn't ever have that problem. But on the flip side of that, if we never allowed anything to kind of be bought up for growth, then you would never have growth either.
Sure.
So how do we balance that?
Again, I think there are things that are needed and are necessary for our community. I'm a strong advocate for some of the overpasses. And yes, it's hard to do an overpass. Some of the overpasses that we need in Waycross to alleviate this train congestion, which is what creates most of the traffic problems right now. I mean, the traffic a lot of times right now for the last few years has been the bridge. Obviously, they're replacing the bridge on 84.
Right.
That creates a traffic backup, especially right around 5 o'clock. After that, it's not too bad, but kind of that rush hour, people getting out of school, people getting off of work, going back and forth between the two communities creates traffic. And then the trains being stopped, double tracks, these extra long trains. We've all seen it. I was passing by the other day, and there was one extra car over Morningside that was blocking all of Cherokee Heights.
Yeah.
We need the overpasses, and unfortunately, sometimes that means some of those properties that are close to that area that we need an overpass. Again, I think those things are a little different because they are a very clear necessity for our community. Those trains are blocking and preventing our emergency services and first responders from getting to those areas. In Pierce County, it's Farr's Fine Furniture, the area, the community, which is hundreds of people. When a train is stopped there, you literally cannot get a fire truck, a police car, an ambulance to that area. They're going to have to go off-road, and I know Pierce County is working on that, and there's some solutions that they're trying to get fixed on that. But again, that's just one example. We've had the same thing in Waycross, where entire areas are completely cut off because of these trains. And so that's a necessity so that we can respond, so that we can get people the services that they need. Completely understand that. I think those are, and I don't want to make light of it, but those are a handful of individuals. Whereas something that is this large of a scope of project, you're talking about hundreds of people.
Right.
And is there a necessity in Pierce, Ware, and Brantley County for a project that is this large? Do we really need a full 360 loop, Jacksonville I-295 style all the way around Waycross? Is that even the best thing for Waycross?
Right.
Do we really want to divert? Because it's not just going to be semi-trucks that are diverted. It's going to be cars. It's going to be people. It's going to be people that would stop at the mall, at Walmart, at a local business. Those people are also going to be diverted away from Waycross. And the argument, and I hear people say, oh, no, if they were going to come to Waycross anyway, they would just keep coming to Waycross. Well, maybe, but if they weren't necessarily coming to Waycross, but they don't have a choice but to go through Waycross, they may have stopped at those businesses. They may have stopped and ate at one of our restaurants, stopped at one of our coffee shops, stopped at one of our boutiques that we have. I mean, we've spent a lot of time in Waycross for the Downtown Development Authority, and they've done a really good job developing downtown. Do we really want to divert people that might stop at one of the markets, one of the fairs, one of the events or something that we have downtown, they're riding by and they see, man, what are all these people doing downtown? Oh, look at all these pop-up tents. Look at all these vendors. Let's stop and see what's going on. Do we really want to divert all of that around Waycross and bypass our entire community? Those are questions that need to be answered. And I think our elected officials have not done a good job of answering those questions and providing some of that to our community. Like what are some of the consequences of this? What are the final costs? I'm a very strong conservative. I believe in fiscal responsibility.
Right. Yep.
I'm at where I'm at 40 years old because we made very difficult financial decisions at 20 years old.
That's right.
I have a very good retirement account. I have a house that's now paid for. We did that because we made sacrifices. We don't drive brand new vehicles. You know, we don't have, you know, all the nicest couches and furniture and things like that in our house. But we made sacrifices so that we could set us up for success in the future, to not go in debt. Our country hasn't done a good job of that, and I think our local governments, I think all three of them, can also do a better job of that. Look at our taxes.
Right.
Our not just income taxes, but our property taxes. This project, if it spans out, and I've talked to our state senator, I've talked to our state representatives, and the conservative amount is maybe $250 million if we started tomorrow.
And that always increases. Right?
And you're talking, this may take 10 years, may take 20 years maybe, if you figure 2 bridges and all the highway and everything that needs to be built. Imagine what inflation would look like 20 years from now, and that $250 million could easily be $500 million. Is that something that the state of obviously we can't afford that. Our local counties can't afford that. It's going to have to come from the state. Is that something really the state can afford? Is that a priority for the state when there's other communities that are already growing at a significant rate that could use those resources and those highways and that money?
Right.
So that's a hard sell, I think, for our local, even if they want it, even if we have this referendum, even if we vote on it and we pass it and everybody is singing Kumbaya and wants this bypass, will it even ever happen just on the financial side of it? And is it really in the best interest of the state to spend that much money for a bypass around Waycross?
So you mentioned with your personal situation, a lot of hard decisions in the beginning, a lot of personal sacrifice,
Sure.
Right? To be able to set yourself up for success, for you and your family, for success down the road. As a community, and if we want growth, can growth occur without a perimeter road of some kind?
Sure.
Do you think? Yeah.
Again, you look at how many vacant spots there are at the mall. You know, there's opportunity for growth there. That I remember back in the day in high school. I mean, that was the happening
right.
spot.
Yeah,
You'd go get dropped off at the mall and hang out all day and go through the shops and
Right.
you know. So yes, there are things that we can do, and I think that should be and could be a focus of our local elected officials, is revitalizing that. Again, our industrial park. There are plenty of opportunities and spaces that are already available for growth, to bring in new industry, to bring in new business. There's plenty of land available for that's already here without having to sacrifice existing communities.
Okay, so let's say the local officials and government start doing a really good job of attracting new businesses.
Sure.
You know, from building up industrial park with manufacturing, and then of course as manufacturing grows, then obviously more people come to the community, which then a basic domino effect, right?
Yeah.
From more retail and things like that. Let's say all that makes a positive turn,
Sure.
and we see that growth. Is there a point that the area becomes so big that we would need a perimeter road of some sort to help out with traffic, which is one of the biggest reasons they say that we
Yeah.
need it is because of traffic.
Obviously, if we
You-
started tomorrow, it would help out with traffic.
Yeah.
Even if the community doesn't grow, sure, this perimeter road would help with traffic. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, because obviously it's going to divert some semi-truck traffic and some just regular traffic around the city. I don't think anybody would argue that the perimeter road wouldn't help with traffic. I think the bigger argument is it worth the sacrifice?
Right.
That's my voice. That's my concern is it worth the sacrifice? Every city at some point is going to become landlocked, is not going to be able to grow anymore, and is going to have to do some different suburb over here. We're going to have this community over here, and then this community starts growing. So every community at some point is not going to be able to continue to grow and develop, maybe at a pace that the local officials would like, maybe even the citizens of that area would like, because it's going to become landlocked at some point. So I think the time for some of these discussions was maybe years and years in the past, before these communities were established,
built up. That's
before these homes were built, before people laid down roots and had family farms like ours that this highway would cut through. That unfortunately, that time I think has passed, at least on portions of the bypass as it stands.
And there have been discussions in the past. I mean, there's
Sure.
been attempts in the past, but for whatever reason, and whoever has the influence or the money or whatever it is you want to call it, it's always been shot down.
And even the last one, to the best of my knowledge, and I've talked to several people that were a part of that and kind of that were a part of kind of getting that shut down, even that wasn't a full 360 bypass around the city. It was just a partial, really connecting Pierce County kind of to 84, and then believe even to US 1. So it was just a partial kind of eastern bypass. So it still wasn't even near the scope of what it is now. So even that would have been only so helpful. And again, I look at that and I go, why do we need to connect US 1 back to Highway 84 in Blackshear? You would just use Highway 121 when it splits there in Race Pond. You would just use that road for the most of the semi-traffic. Why would you come all the way to Waycross just to turn right and then go to Blackshear? It just doesn't make any logical sense. And so, I mean, I can understand why that in and of itself wouldn't float. Now, again, going the other direction or going all the way through from US 1 all the way back to US 1 again, on the western side, again, there's a lot less properties, a lot less homes. There still are some that I think that would need to be worked through. Yeah. And who knows? There might be people over that are saying, hey, that's fine. I'll be glad to sell my land to the state, to the county, to whatever. That's fine, but at least give those people an opportunity before you say, no, you have to. There's no choice. You have to sell your land, and we're only going to give you fair market value. Yeah. Fair market value for the back end of my property, which is where this highway would cut through. All of our families are kind of on one side of the property, and we've kind of got the back side of our property set aside for future generations. And so where the bypass, where this highway would cut through, as it stands right now on the proposed route, would cut right through that. And so it's basically eliminating our family's future and our family's ability to grow on the land that we own. Again, that's kind of planning stuff that should have already been done. But since it hasn't been, is that really worth the sacrifice on this community? Is that something that we really want to do as a community, to say, well, these few hundred, maybe 1,000 families are worth the sacrifice so that 20 years from now we can grow and we can accommodate more traffic?
Yeah. I think the biggest traffic is the 84 route where the 84 ends up coming downtown up on Plant Avenue.
Sure.
Right. And then you have the US 1 route.
Yeah, because that's the bottleneck.
Right.
On 84, bottlenecks right there at Plant Avenue. Goes from 2-lane to 1-lane for that little stretch until you get past the underpass under Corridor Z. Yes, that is a huge bottleneck. And how much that's a question that needs to be answered by the commissioners is and that should be a part of the Atlas study. I know it was mentioned in some of the earlier meeting minutes, is what percent of truck traffic would use that Highway 84 northern portion in Pierce County, or in Pierce County turning south in Pierce County and going kind of behind Ace Pole. What percent of traffic would that actually reduce from those areas? So that's a good question that we need. We need that information so that we can make educated decisions and voice our concerns. Because without, we're having to make a very complex, a very significant and important decision as a community, whether we want this or not, with very little concrete information. That's been one of my biggest frustrations throughout this whole process.
Yeah, to my understanding, the Atlas study will be available to the public, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. And
we heard on December 1st. Give us a week or two.
Right.
We heard in the Ware County Commissioners meeting 2 weeks later. Give us a week or two. And as of now, I still haven't seen it. It's still not available. The same thing as these alternative routes. There's alternative routes that were also developed. Well, where are they? Why haven't they been released? And I think a logical answer to that is there was so much community kickback from one proposed bypass route. Let's say they put out three alternate routes. Right now, you've got people upset that are along one route. Can you imagine what the commissioners would be dealing with and the amount of phone calls if there were three potential routes, and there's right now hundreds of families that are upset? Could you imagine thousands of families? Because everybody along each one of those three routes is going to be upset.
Right.
I don't think they'll ever release those additional routes because I think they understand this. At least I do. I see this, and maybe I'm the only one that's forward thinking enough to understand this. But they keep talking about these alternate routes, and to date, I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, and I don't think that was released on purpose. I think it was released because it was part of the the meeting, so it had to be released as far as and I don't know why the other proposals were not discussed during that meeting.
Yeah.
But what has been your feedback from the community? Have you talked to anybody that is for it?
Again, like some of the concerns that you've brought up, there are people that understand that there is a traffic issue, there is a train issue, and that at least portions of the bypass would help with some of that traffic. And again, I don't disagree with that. A full 360 bypass would definitely help with traffic. That just makes common sense. I mean, nobody's going to argue that. Again, going back to, is it really worth the sacrifice though?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there are people that are for it for some reasons, and I follow a lot of the posts and the threads, and there are people that are like, well, you people just don't want this community to grow. It's not that I don't want the community to grow. I'm just not willing to sacrifice some of the things that is being willing from some of our elected officials. What they're willing to sacrifice for growth in the community, I'm not willing to sacrifice for growth in the community. I'm fairly confident that it's probably not going to come right through our family property because of where the route is right now. Is going to cut through a brand new, very prominent subdivision in Pierce County. 3 or 4 brand new houses that are, close to 7 figures when it comes to the property, and then the expense of these very nice homes that were built. I mean, they would literally have to destroy a home that is 2 homes that are less than a year old. Pretty sure they're not going to want to pay that price tag for just a handful of properties. But if it's not theirs, it's going to be somebody else's. It's going to be my neighbors.
Yeah.
It's going to be somebody else in the community. If it doesn't come right here down your road, it's going to go 3 roads over, and it's going to be somebody else's family that is having to sacrifice. So again, the ultimate final route is less significant and important to understand right now than just the concept of where it is and where it's cutting through our residential established communities, at least on portions of the bypass.
Yeah. So I would love to see the area to grow.
Sure.
Grow more. And because of that, and if, I've been told, I've read from commissioners that I've talked to posts that I've seen, to articles that I've read, that that perimeter road, some sort of bypass, would add to the attractiveness of manufacturing coming. If that is the case, if that is true, and that can be backed, I can't say, yes, I'm for the perimeter road, but don't bring it down my road, right? So I have to be willing to say, okay, I'm willing for it to come down my road. because I do see that sacrifice that you talk about. To me, I think it's worth for some of the properties that would be affected to have the growth, if that is the case. Now, if we can have growth without that, which I do believe we can, I believe we can have growth. I know that we've had decades of opportunities that have bypassed us, or where manufacturers have chose not to come here because of elected officials. They weren't willing to, whether it was to give tax benefits or whatever it is, they haven't wanted to see the area grow and flourish. That's kind of what my understanding is. And
again, there's a lot of people that I've talked to that they're in Waycross because they don't want to be in Jacksonville. They're in Waycross because they don't want to be in Brunswick. They don't want to be in Savannah. They're in Waycross because it's big enough. We have the mall. We have at least some stores. We have Walmart. We have some places to go out to eat.
Yeah.
But it's not Brunswick.
Right.
It's not Savannah. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with Waycross staying Waycross and Blackshear staying Blackshear and not trying to compete and become Macon, not be Valdosta. We get compared to Douglas a lot. Oh, well, look at how great Douglas is doing. Again, look at where the road that they built in Douglas was. It wasn't through residential neighborhoods. It was through area that could be developed and made sense to be developed. And so because of that, there was land and opportunity available to develop new businesses and bring in those things. We're not Douglas. We're not Valdosta. We're not Savannah. We're not Jacksonville. We have to look at what is best for Waycross and the community. What do the citizens want? What does the community want? Not just what a handful of, albeit maybe elected officials. Some of the pressure might not be coming from elected officials. It might be coming from others. It might be coming from some of these people that are outside of the community. And some of the things that I've heard, kind of makes sense as far as some of the pressure for this coming outside of the community. Because if you look at it, talking about how business and industry would love to have this bypass and it's appealing. So US 1, Highway 84, and Highway 82, and that connection, the rice yard and all the railroad connections, that isn't in and of itself appealing. It has been for 50 or 100 years, as long as Waycross has been around. As long as these major highways have been coming through our town, that's been appealing. And I think why the town and the community is the size that it is because of that. So why is that all of a sudden not good enough? And now we need more. And again, we don't know. And this was brought up last night at the Pierce County Commissioners meeting when I spoke. We don't know. Is it going to be a 2-lane? Is it going to be a 4-lane? We don't know. Is it going to be a state highway? It's so there's just so much that is unknown that it makes it hard to be able to have even some of these conversations because we don't know. All right, let's just say we do a partial bypass. Let's just say we take the southern route from US 1 back through Highway 84 going to Valdosta, kind of after the rice yard, where the rice yard kind of tapers down. Let's just do that one portion. How effective is that going to be? Is that really going to help the community? Is that really going to alleviate traffic enough for it to really matter? Is there going to be enough semi-truck traffic that's going to take that route that is no longer going to be coming through town? Is that enough to be able to help? Do we need it to extend it past that? Do we need we need answers to questions like that?
What are the chances you think that it does end up on the ballot?
What are the chances that it ends up on the ballot? From the December 1st meeting, we kind of thought it was a done deal the way that it was presented to us. At the last Ware County Board of Commissioners meeting, it was basically, hey, we don't want to talk about it anymore because you guys are going to vote on it. It sounded like it was a done deal. Last night at our Pierce County Commissioners meeting, it did not sound like a done deal. And as a matter of fact, it sounded like it's not even going to be on the ballot in Pierce County potentially for a couple of different reasons. They also mentioned the difficulty that Waycross is going to have getting this on the ballot. And I don't know all the ins and outs of this because I just heard this last night, so I didn't have time to be able to do the research on this, but it was something about because May is a primary, and you've got Democratic primaries and Republican primaries, that both parties, the Democratic Party in that area and the Republican Party in that area, would have to both put the measure on the ballot. If not, then you just have Republicans voting on it, or you just have Democrats voting on it, and that's not fair to the other.
Correct.
Only part of the community would be able to vote on it. The difficulty, they said, with Ware County was something about not having an established or an official Democratic Party to be able to put it on the ballot, and something about it would have to go through our state representative, which is, I believe, maybe why Representative Burchett has been working on this. What they made it seem like he's the only one that can do it, because they have to do it on a state level in Atlanta, that they're going to have to do this in Atlanta and basically send that down to the county. Again, I don't understand how that works, all that. I was just given that information last night at the Pierce County Commissioners meeting. They can go back to my Facebook profile. Somebody live streamed it and I shared it, and they can listen for themselves of that explanation. I don't have the ins and outs of that, but it sounds like in the three counties, the Republican and the Democratic Party would have to be able to agree on that and put that on the ballot. And it only makes sense if they're going to agree to the exact same wording. And
that's right.
So there's a lot of logistics that goes into that, being on a primary. Now, it also makes sense in my mind that maybe they want to kick this down the road a while. Maybe they don't want to do it right now. Again, because there's so much attention on this, and there's so much emotions, strong emotions, rightly so, from people like myself that are impacted by this, that they want this to die down as much as possible and hope that people forget about this and then slip this in down the road somewhere in the future when people maybe aren't as upset about it.
Right.
But I'm definitely here to tell you I'm not going anywhere. I'll be following this, and I will show up to every Pierce and Ware, at least those two. I can't go to Brantley because Brantley and Pierce have them on the same nights, and so I might have to skip Pierce every now and then and go to Brantley. But I'll be going to all of those commissioner meetings until I see in black and white that this is a non-issue.
Right.
I'll continue to show up and voice my concerns and be active on social media to bring attention to it.
What a wonderful opportunity that we have. What a wonderful country we live in, to have the opportunity to make our voices heard and known. Sure. And to share our, thoughts and opinions about something. There's different levels of passion behind different topics. And I think it's just a wonderful thing that we have the opportunity to do. With that being said, what has the response been from the commissioners' side, from the council meetings and everything? Have you had a positive reaction from them, or are they kind of wanting you to go away? Or
it definitely felt to me in both Pierce and Ware that they kind of wanted it to go away and to not talk about it. It was clear on December 1st during that meeting. It was asked, and I kind of keyed in on it because they asked one of the Pierce County commissioners, are we going to talk about this tomorrow? Because December 1st was the Tri-County meeting. December 2nd was a Pierce County Board of Commissioners meeting. And they said, no, we're not. And I kind of chimed in. I said, well, I'm already on the agenda, and that's my topic that I'm talking about. So we're at least going to discuss it.
Right. Bring it up.
We're at least going to discuss it and bring it up. You guys might not want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it because, I've followed the right protocol and got on the agenda. I did the same. I take it back. I did not do that for the Ware County Commissioners meeting, but I already knew some other people had signed up for it. I was there. That was about a week, 8 days or so later. And again, because at the meeting, at the December 1st meeting, Chairman Thrift said, no, the same thing was asked of him. And he's like, no, we're not going to discuss this. How can we as a community vote on a matter that was brought to us by the commissioners? Again, nobody from the community said, hey, we think this is a good idea. Right. The commissioners got together from these three counties, okay? And Pierce County has tried to kind of back out of this a little bit, but the three counties got together in November, I believe it was November 4th, and held their first Tri-County meeting and got together, and Ware County drafted this resolution. And then each of the individual counties went back and formally approved, all three counties formally approved it in their November regular commissioners meeting. So they approved this resolution that was kind of developed by Ware County. So they can't say that they didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't have any knowledge of it because they ultimately approved of the resolution and brought this on the community. They brought this on the community.
Yeah.
And now they really don't want to talk about it and give any information and answer all these questions. And last night at our Pierce County Commissioners meeting, I had a list of questions. And they did answer a few of them. Most of them they don't have the answers to. And I said, I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for listening to the questions. I said, but write them down and try to find answers, because how can we make an educated decision on this? How can we advocate for or against this if we don't have some of the basic information that we need? Again, would a partial bypass help alleviate enough traffic from Waycross to justify it, or do we need a full 360? How many homes are you willing as a commission to sacrifice to say, hey, this is worth it for the community? There's so many questions that need to be answered that we just don't have. And the ones that are bringing this to the table, that want to bring this project to the community, aren't willing to discuss it. In the December Ware County Commissioners meeting, they did discuss it a little bit. And basically the discussion was, hey, we're going to vote on this in May. That's all there is to it. There was really no empathy for the people that are concerned. There was no real willingness to answer questions or hear people out. In the December Pierce County meeting, it was the same way. I've been to numerous meetings, commissioners meetings, public hearings, and on the December 2nd Pierce County Commissioners meeting, I was given 3 minutes. And I'm kind of made some opening statements, asked one question, the timer went off, and they said, thank you for your time. That's all you've got. Wouldn't answer a single question, made me go sit down. That was eye-opening, that there was zero interest in discussing it or answering a single question. So I reached out, had several people sign up. The meeting last night, we had multiple people that signed up to speak. I was told on Friday, I received a phone call and basically said, I had reached out to people and said, hey, just be willing to yield your time to me so I can just speak on your behalf, because that's what I was encouraged to do. That's what I was told. Hey, here's the proper path to be able to, get more time in a meeting, is have multiple people sign up and let them give you their time, speak on their behalf. Well, I was told on Friday at the Pierce County's that the Pierce County Commissioners said, no, that's not allowed. We're not going to allow him to do that, that he's getting 3 minutes and everybody else is going to have to speak on their own. So again, it's not just that they don't want to discuss it. It's like they're actively trying to silence those of us that are trying to get answers to these questions. Again, if we want to have a vote on it, then let the people make an educated vote.
Education, that's right.
Give us the information that we need so that we can make a vote. Whether they're for it or against it, whether the community votes for it or votes against it, if we don't have the information, we can't do anything with it. And again, this is something that they brought up. They're bringing upon the community. They need to be the ones that are taking ownership and responsibility for answering these questions. And if they can't, what is the community supposed to do? We're just supposed to
blindly,
blindly trust that they're doing the right thing, that government is doing the right thing. We're going to blindly trust that government is going to do the right thing. Yeah, that hasn't worked out for us the last few years. That's for sure.
I know that they Representative Burchett, I guess he was the one that really brought up the idea of it being on the ballot. 6 months sounds like a long way away. Back in December.
In December, 1st,
yeah, right. But in reality, especially when you're talking about government and the number of individuals and decisions that have to be made and the red tape that has to be cut through, being able to get that on the ballot in May is a long shot.
I think if they started on December 1st working on it, it could have been done. And again, you got to think of early voting. So it's not even, May 19th isn't the deadline. The deadline's probably sometime in mid-April, maybe even early April, because you've got to have early voting time and all of that. So yeah, there's a lot of things that have to go into place. And now we're at the middle of January. And as of now, the question hasn't been decided. What is the verbiage? What is the language? And last night at the Pierce County Commissioners meeting, there wasn't even agreement to whether or not they want to put this on the ballot in May.
Right. So
and there was arguments both sides of that. It's all right. Well, Mr. Edwards, if we put this on the ballot and the community votes for it, then what are you going to say? Well, I'm going to say, well, the community voted for it. Said, but what information before May are you going to provide to the community so that we can make that educated vote?
Yeah. And I asked Commissioner Tyndall this when I had him on back in, I guess, 2016 or what have you, when they took a straw poll.
Sure.
And according to the straw poll, most people, 60 or 70% of people were against it.
Right.
So I asked him, I said, I said, could the government officials could have made the decision to go ahead and move forward with it? And he said, yes,
Yes, they could have.
Yes, they could. That's always a possibility.
And it's the same with this. This is a non-binding vote. So even if the community overwhelmingly supports or overwhelmingly opposes this perimeter road, this bypass,
they can still
do it because it is a non. And I
right, okay.
When I spoke with Representative Burchett a few weeks ago, he made that clear. He said, "Listen," he said, "this vote is a referendum." He said it is a non-binding vote. It does not obligate the
representatives to follow through.
The representatives, the board of commissioners. It does not obligate the board of commissioners to follow through. This is just letting them know what the community thinks.
Gotcha.
And they can still say, well, we don't care what the community thinks, or we think we know better than what the community knows, and we're going to move forward with it anyways. Yeah. So yes, that can happen. And
that's where the operation of the Democratic Republic, which is what we operate under, right? Where we elect officials to basically make those decisions for us. If we don't like the decisions they're making, then we then we get rid of them, right?
Yes.
But they're there to make those decisions and stuff. So it's not a lot of times you hear people talk about being a democracy. Well, we're not a democracy because democracy is the majority makes the decisions and so forth. So. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's
elections have consequences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good consequences and bad consequences. But anything? Is there anything that maybe we haven't talked about here this evening from your personal studies and research that you would like to bring up and talk about and maybe help the community be aware of?
There are some things. I have a lot of concerns about local corruption and things that are going on behind the scenes. I think there's some pretty blatant nepotism and at the very best nepotism. What it looks to me is just blatant corruption that is well known in the area. Yet people just turn a blind eye and just ignore it, and that's concerning. It's very disheartening to know that there are people that know what's going on and are even a part of it, and they just don't care because nobody's called anybody out on it, and it just continues to go on. So that's concerning. My encouragement to everybody, and usually once a week I'll make a post and I'll throw this in there. Show up, stand up, speak up. So if this issue or any other issue that impacts our local community, Pierce, Brantley, Ware, Bacon, Wayne, whatever, if whatever county you live in, wherever you're hearing this, if there's an issue that is important to you, show up to the meetings, stand up, speak out, call your representative, call your commissioners, call your state representative, call your state senator. 3 months ago, I had no involvement in local politics at all. I had never talked to a state representative, a state senator. I had barely talked to a city or county commissioner. What kind of jump-started me was Pierce County put in the newspaper, because they had to, they were looking at increasing our taxes, our property taxes, by 2 mills, 20%. That was huge. So I started showing up to the public hearings, started getting some information. I did a full audit of the 2024, because that's the only year that we had available, full audit of the budget, every cost center, looking at it and compared it and looked at what percentage over their allotted budget they went for each individual cost center, and then went to the commissioners and went to the county managers. Look at these numbers. Why is this cost center? And again, to me, I believe that's the county manager's responsibility. County manager, why is this cost center over their allotted budget 380%? You know, we allotted them $5,000 and now they're spending $25,000. You know, whatever. Why is this? What's the justification for this? We literally went line by line, and there was a lot of questions that they couldn't answer. And I'm like, you should. In my personal finances, if I'm allotted this much for groceries, and if I get $500 a month for groceries and I spend $2,000, there's consequences on me, on my family. Why are there no consequences for the county budget when a cost center? At least to know, all right, well, there was a logical explanation for this, and here's what that explanation was.
You had your own personal Doge going on, huh?
Yes, and I plan on doing that again in Pierce County for the 2025 budget. As soon as it's made available, I plan on doing the same thing. We've got a new county manager. Spoke with him last night, met with him, and said, hey, today, I think yesterday was his first or second day on the job, and then he had a commissioners meeting that night and had to do his county manager report. I said, I'm going to give you a couple of weeks to get your feet wet and know what's going on. I said, and then I'm going to come and talk with you. And I told him, I said, I don't want to be an adversary. That's not my intention in any of this. I don't want to be adversarial. I don't want to just be a problem, but I do want answers, and I do want to hold these elected officials accountable. And I think trying to silence me is not going to work. That is not the ticket to get me off of your case.
It's just going to embolden you even more.
And again, from what I shared earlier, I'm not the type of person, and I don't have the personality that I'm just going to, oh, well, this is too difficult, I'm going to go away. No, you're just going to aggravate me and motivate me, and I'll spend more time doing research. I have an entire binder full of research on a few specific commissioners and their dealings or business dealings, and some questions of corruption that I think need to be presented and they need to answer for. And so that'll be forthcoming in the coming weeks.
Okay. So
keep your eyes open.
So you're actually going to bring that.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it here.
Right. Yes.
I'm going to, I don't want it to be hearsay. I don't want it to be rumors. I don't want anybody to say that I'm slandering them. I'm going to bring it directly to them in a commissioners meeting.
Okay.
As a concerned citizen, I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z. Here's the documentation. Here's the pictures. Here's the recorded conversations, and answer for this. We'll see what happens.
I mean, honestly,
I can only do so much in 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but I'm going to do my best.
Right. Well, we need more of that. I talked with you a little bit about, I've done a faith-based podcast, for about in my 7th year now. But over the last year, I've had a really just big yearning to get more involved in the community.
Sure.
And I thought, well, maybe. And again, it's just one of the things that's kind of been nagging, but I haven't acted on it. And then I came across an article. There was I stopped by the convenience store, and I always check out the paper. Now I subscribed to all 3 papers.
Yeah.
And so for basically since this started, I went ahead and subscribed, and that way I can keep up with the ongoings and everything. But anyway, there was a picture with the Brantley County Superintendent and my daughter. They were on the front page.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I said, I bought it. I brought it home and showed my family and everything, and then I started flipping through it, and then that's when I came across this Perimeter Road. I'm like, hold on, this is the first time hearing of this.
Yeah, where'd this come from?
What is this all about? And so then I said, and they said, we've got the December 1st meeting coming. Yeah. And I said, okay, I'm going to go.
Exact same thing happened to me.
Right.
Exact same thing. Matter of fact, somebody screenshotted it. I guess they found it online, screenshot it, and said, have you seen anything about this?
Right. Yeah.
And then a few hours later, they sent me the proposed route. And so, yeah, that's the first time I had seen or heard anything about it. Was thank God for our local newspapers and at least somebody paying attention in the meetings.
That's right,
and documenting that for us. And again, that's another reason why I want to encourage people to get involved,
that
know what's going on. Ware County is great because they live stream it. So you don't even have to get off your couch. You can be sitting right there and live stream and watch and listen to what's going on. I'm going to try to encourage Pierce County to follow suit this year and put it online, to get more people involved and engaged in local decisions. Every single month, they're making decisions that impact every one of us.
Yeah.
And when there's no community input and involvement, then they're just able to do that without any accountability and oversight.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and with individuals, like yourself, putting it on Facebook, getting the information out, helps extremely.
Mm-hmm.
After that meeting, I said, you know what, it's time. It's time to really try and start acting.
Sure.
And I've got the equipment and everything. I said, you know what, I'm going to. I know Commissioner Tindall fairly well. You know, I said I'm gonna reach out to him. I reached out to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to come on." You know, and so I did that, and then I reached out to you, and so I'm going to start trying to reach out to more of the community, and it's going to be from political issues to religious issues, just to personal stories, to business and everything, but just get more involved in our community, because you think about these big radio programs from, you know, Glenn Beck to whoever, right? They're national based, right?
Yeah.
But what about the local communities? You know, we need individuals.
There's enough going on between these three counties that you could definitely have at least a weekly, if not daily, podcast on different issues. So there's plenty of content available for you just on local issues.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue is, as a whole, does the community want to grow? What does it need to grow? How big do you want to grow? And how much of a small town do you want to have? I still, again, like you said, you know, I don't want to be in Jacksonville.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be in Savannah, Macon. So you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
When you start saying, okay, we want to grow. Well, how much do you want to grow?
Yeah.
And if you start growing, then it can start really kind of multiplying and compounding. And
again, part of the commissioners in every county, the growth isn't necessarily from what I've heard in conversations and being in budget meetings, the growth isn't necessarily for the betterment of the community. There's always a financial impact to that, because we're bringing in more business, we're bringing in more industry, we're bringing in more tax money. We don't have a tax income problem. We have a spending problem.
Right.
And we have a fraud problem, and people spending too much money and trying to cushion themselves. Until we hold those people accountable and put those things in check, until we get a better rein on our local budgets, then we're going to continue to have problems and have to continue to increase taxes.
The problem with government spending is there's no it's always there, right? The money, well, we can always tax more, we can always increase the taxes, we can always borrow from next year or 10 years down the road or 50 years down the road, which is what we're always doing. So there's no real balancing of a budget and staying and holding ourselves accountable. And that's what we really got to do.
Again, as a family, as a husband, as a leader, you know, even as a business owner, I have to hold myself accountable, and I've got to stay within a budget. We need to hold our elected officials to that same standard.
Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, not for this. I'd love to be able to come back and talk about some other things that I know we're both passionate about. You know, health. RFK Jr. today put out a great new program on Make America Healthy Again.
That's right.
The updated food pyramid. I love that. I went through and watched the video and read all about the updated food pyramid, which was great. You know, love to come back and talk about all of that, and big pharma and big food, and how they're all just one big happy family because they're all owned by the same three big hedge funds. I could spend an hour talking about that.
Yeah, it's insane when you really start looking at that, and just the amount of, unfortunately, the amount of corruption and
the corruption and how the American people have been manipulated for
taken advantage of
generations. Probably, I would say at least 60, 70 years. It's unbelievable. It's disheartening, and it's hard to believe that this happened in America.
It's what, to me, the biggest disheartening thing is that, I mean, but it's all prophesied about and everything, but just the amount of greed that individuals allow themselves to be taken by. It's all because of greed.
Sure.
Chasing the money, chasing the dollar. I want more, I want more, I want more. I don't care who it hurts.
And again, relate that here to Waycross. Again, do we want? Why do we really need to keep growing and growing and growing? Is it just a greed thing? Do we just want more because we want a Publix? Because we want this? We want a Longhorn? We want what these other communities have,
right?
But is it really worth the sacrifice? Is it really something that we need? Is it really worth us continuing to grow and adding another 15,000 people to the community and all these businesses if it means that we're going to have to sacrifice people that have spent their whole lives here and have built families and paid off their property, and now we want to destroy that and make them move and start all over again simply because we want to grow? Is it really worth that sacrifice? That's something that our elected representatives are going to have to decide. Maybe the people, if it gets on the ballot, maybe that's something we'll have to decide as a community as well. Wow. But I know where my heart is, and I know where I stand, and I'm going to do everything I can to advocate for and put as much information out there, good or bad, right or wrong, as far as for or against. I just want to put the information out there, right. And then let people make an educated decision, because as of right now, there's very little information being provided by our elected officials on this. And
more information leads to better decisions.
Yes.
If we utilize those decisions and use common sense and everything.
And common sense also says
that's right.
If you're trying to hide the information and the truth, there's probably a reason.
Yeah.
If you're intentionally trying to stick your head in the sand and not discuss it, there's a reason.
Right.
Why?
There's some bad intentions.
People should be asking that.
Yeah. Well, hey, Blake, thank you again for coming on. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the effort and everything. I definitely know you're passionate about what you've got to say. So you make a good argument for against the perimeter road and the bypass. So anyway, we'll look to hear from you again. Love to have you on again.
Absolutely. And listen, if anybody listening has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. You can go to www.stopthebypass.info,
okay. Check
out some information. I've got kind of a timeline, documents. You can read through commissioner meeting minutes. I tried to make it all available. Again, that's information going back over 2 years, and I'm trying to make it all available so people can do their own research. I've spent the time to do the research, and I'm trying to make it available so people can do their own. I'll take some time over the next few days and update it. Basically, since December, not a lot has went on, but I'm going to upload the meeting minutes from December and do a few quick things like that, just so that people can stay up to date with the official records and officially what's going on with this, as well as kind of what the rumors and discussions are. So I'm glad to talk to anybody at any time about this.
Very good. All right, everybody, for Blake Edwards, I am Jackson Howell. Thank you again for listening and for watching. Until next time, y'all keep on striving.
Thank you.